Hey there again. It is Regina from Expert Office. Today, let's talk about numbers. Now, I know that this is a daunting topic. Nobody wants to talk about numbers. Nobody wants to talk about how we have to track our numbers and what that all means. This is a very critical part of being a business owner is being aware. So, I just want to say this that most business owners are really busy. We're busy working and working, but how do we know if what we're doing, if it even means anything? Sometimes we're working, but we have no idea if what we're doing is actually working in our business or not. When I started my business several years ago, I started doing what I was supposed to do. And I was working hard. I was doing all the things. I was trying to post on social media. I was trying to send out emails. I was trying to call people, just networking, just trying to see what would stick and what was happening. The truth is that I was busy spinning my wheels, but then I wasn't going back to see if what I was doing was actually working. So whether I was putting social media posts out, I wasn't going back to track to see if they were impactful, if they were meaningful, if they meant anything to the audience that I was serving. I didn't go back to check and see if anybody was like I don't want to say necessarily liking, because whether they like the post or not isn't the thing, but whether or not what I was doing would convert to anything, to any revenue. So those are the mistakes that I was making. I was doing a bunch of work that quite frankly could have just been busy work because if it's not effective, then I'm not making a difference. And if it's not effective, then I'm not selling anything. If it's not effective, I'm not there's no revenue coming in. So here's the thing. Most of us are busy doing all the things that people tell us that we need to do in order to run a business. But if you don't go back and check to see if what you're doing is meaningful to your business and if you're able to prosper from it, then you're wasting time. You want to make sure that you are not just spinning your wheels, but that what you're doing is meaningful. So let's talk about this for a minute. Let's talk about why most business owners just avoid it. They don't want to track it. They don't want to look at it. Tracking your numbers is one of those behind the scenes things that we talk about a lot when we talk about what's going on behind the scenes of your business. When we talk about trying to make sure your business is successful, that you're doing the work in the back office, that is one of the things. That's one of the things that people don't want to do, and mainly because they feel overwhelmed. The whole idea of tracking seems tedious. It seems, oh my gosh, they're going to spend time to do it. But the truth is, as a CEO of your business, you need to dedicate some time because you won't know if what you're doing is meaningful if you don't track the numbers. And so, whether you do it yourself, whether you hire a VA to do it, or whether you hire a expert office to do it, shameless plug. But if you don't track the numbers to see if what you're doing is meaningful, then all you're doing is just spinning your wheels. You could be doing something that could be great. You could be doing something and then it's not so great, but you won't know until you stop and look and pay attention to what you're doing to see if it's really working. So this is what you need to do. You need to track. You cannot continue to fly blind. You can't say I post 7 days a week, so I must be doing something right. No. If you're posting 7 days a week and there's no conversion, then we need to look and see what's wrong. If you're posting 7 days a week but nobody's seeing it, there's no traffic, we need to see what's wrong. So if you don't have any idea, then how can you function? How can you know what the next step is if you don't even know what you're doing now is working? So I think that's the key thing that we want to talk about. So when you hear people throw around words like analytics and metrics and KPIs and all these things, these are things that we need to pay attention to. And it is daunting because you're hearing letters or words, and I was like, I don't even know what this means, but don't worry about all that. All you need to know is that there are some things that you could track in your business to make sure that you're on the right track. So let's talk about 4 key metrics that you can track. And I really want to focus in on 3 of them, and the fourth one is just a bonus. But some of the things that you can track to see if what you're doing is working for you, social media reach. Not necessarily how many likes you get or not likes. Some people like, oh, I got 1,000 likes. That's nice. That just means they like the way you laid your content out or they like the way you presented it. But is it reaching the right audience? I like a lot of things on my social media, but it doesn't, I'm not necessarily going to purchase from them. I just like the way they designed it. I like the way they laid it out. I thought it was a cool idea. So is what you're doing reaching the right audience? And if it's not, what can you do to shift it? So if you're spinning your wheels and spinning your wheels and spinning your wheels and nothing is converting, then in other words, if you're putting out some excellent content, but nobody's buying anything that you're selling, now it's time to look at whether or not I've marketed to the correct audience. Do I need to shift it? Am I not clear? Is it my pricing? Is it my delivery? All the things. So you want to start to be able to look at these things. So you can't know if what you're doing is working or not if you don't take the time to try to track what you're doing, to try to look at the numbers to say, okay, wait a minute. So this particular post only reached, and you can do this especially with YouTube videos. This only when you're doing the shorts, for example, like this only reached 15 people. Why? Go behind the scenes, look at the analytics, and try to figure out what can I do to move this around. What can I do? Why is this not working? Is the message not clear? Am I fuzzy in what I'm trying to say? Do they not even understand what I do? You take your numbers, you look at them, right? And then you try to figure out what can be better, what can I do differently? But if you don't look at the numbers, you won't have any idea whether or not you're being successful or not in your delivery. The other thing is, so we talked about social media reach, we talked about conversion rate. Is it turning into revenue or are you just posting pretty things? The other thing is your subscriber audience and growth. Are you growing your audience? Are you getting more people trying to subscribe to what you're saying? So if I write blog after blog and nobody's subscribing to get my blogs or my newsletters, that just means I'm just practicing my writing. I want to share. I want the audience to grow. I want people to understand that I'm not just trying to sell something, but I have a message and I want to help any way I can. So a lot of what we do is we put out newsletters, so we put out blogs that are informative, but it helps build up who you are, helps people understand who you are and how your service delivery is and what you have to offer. But the question is, am I just writing and writing, but then nobody's reading it? So these are things that through my analytics, I go back and I check and I see, okay, did this reach anybody? Is anybody opening the emails that I'm sending? How many people are actually clicking on the buttons that I press? I'm sorry, the buttons that I insert. Are they just skimming it and you say, that's cool? Or are they going to take it a step further? So you want to check and see how many people are actually clicking on the buttons. What how far are they gonna go in to see what you've done? There's one thing to put a nice title. "Ooh, that title was so cool. Oh, that was jazzy, so I'm gonna check out that article." Let's start skimming the article. Okay, yeah, that was nice, but I need to know, was it just a nice article, or was the information enough for people to click the button to learn more? Was the information enough for people to click the button to say, "Hey, I wanna see more of what Regina has to talk about"? Was it even enough for me to say, "Hey, maybe I'm not gonna buy anything, but I do wanna have a conversation with her to see what she has to say, and then maybe I do wanna buy something." But if I don't track whether or not people are actually looking at the information and maybe might be curious, maybe they might save a post because they're gonna go back to it later, or maybe they wanna share a post because it was interesting information. You need to look at these details. It's not enough just to post 7 days a week or post 4 to 5 times a week. What is happening with the post? What is happening with the information? And I think that's a key part that we tend to just kind of drop off. We don't go back and try to track it. We don't go back to try to follow up to see was the information even meaningful. And you have to see if what you are doing, if it makes sense to your business. Now, I was in a situation before where I was spinning my wheels and I kept saying, I'm doing all this work, I'm doing this work, but no results. But the truth is, I was posting things on a platform that that my audience, they weren't really there. They weren't, my audience wasn't on TikTok, for example. That's not who I was serving when I was doing some of the things I was doing. That wasn't the reach that I was trying to get. And so because I wasn't able to reach that audience. And therefore, I was spinning my wheels. So I said, oh, I know. Let me shift to a different platform. Let me market to LinkedIn. Let me market on YouTube. Let me do something different to reach the people, to reach the business owners that I know need the service that I'm offering. So think about what you're doing. Think about where you're selling your items, where you're putting your items. When you get back your information, when you look at your numbers, it's not just that I'm going to look at my number, but then I'm going to look at what are those numbers telling me. Okay. The purpose of tracking your numbers is for you to stay efficient, for you to know if what you're doing is working, if you're on the right track, or if you need to just recalibrate. That's all. If you don't look at the numbers, you'll never know. And I will tell you, I am the first person every time I heard numbers, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. But doing it has made it a lot more interesting because I'm like, ooh, that didn't work. But I have a different idea. Let me flip this thing. I want to try to go at it from a different approach. And if you get into your numbers like that, if you pay attention to what you do, I don't want to work in vain. I want to work knowing that what I'm doing has a purpose and has a meaning. So I'm looking at what I'm doing and I'm trying to see if maybe that tactic doesn't work. But how about I reach a different audience a different way by going this route? And because I'm looking at the numbers and I'm seeing, oh, okay, that was a post they really enjoyed. That one gave a lot of information. So let me do that again. And then I can get more information this way because this particular way I posted is better received. So everything you're doing is not, you're not just tracking numbers for the sake of saying, oh, yeah, I went in and I tracked my numbers, but I went in, I tracked my numbers, I saw what was working and I saw what wasn't working, and I was able to make some adjustments. That is the key in what you're doing with your numbers and how to use them. So you're not just trying to just do them just to say you did them, but you're going to pay attention to what they're telling you, and then you're going to recalibrate or you're going to celebrate, whichever the case is, to make sure that you are on the right track. So think about it for a minute. A strategy, like if you're working on a thing right now, think about how effective it is. And do you even know? So take that number one thing that you're working on, that number one thing that you're trying to promote. Are you doing all that you can do? So you'll know that if you look at your numbers. You'll know, "Boy, I need to fine tune this area a little bit. I need to sharpen that a little bit." But you'll only know if you check for yourself and look at the numbers. Now, one way to do this is to build a weekly system, whether you have a spreadsheet, whether you have a dashboard, however you have it set up in your system, however you work, because I have a nice spreadsheet that I keep all of the things that I'm trying to accomplish, and I have a target that I want to reach. And so I can look at my numbers and I can say, okay, I'm trying to get X amount of views on YouTube. Did I get that or did I not? So what can I do differently to make sure that my material is going out on YouTube? So you're tracking each thing. So do it on a spreadsheet. But it's important to do it weekly. I don't think it's enough just to say, "Yeah, I'm going to do it once a month," because number one, that task really does become overwhelming when you have to track an entire month's worth of things. So let's just say, for example, in week number one, I have this promotion going. If I'm just looking at the whole month, I won't know if the spike came from the first week or if the spike just came because I posted something else really good. So you kind of want to look a week to see what am I doing differently this week that I did last week, or if there was a spike in the middle of the month, it was because of that promotion, not because I did something so dynamic, but because I was offering a percentage off. So we're looking at things like that. We're looking at when is your audience most attentive? When is my information most well received? During the holidays, it might be a low because people are caught up in their holiday shopping and their holiday celebration. There may be a low. So these are the things that you track. Okay, normally I would do really well here, but because we're holiday time and people are distracted, maybe it did. Look at the patterns of the things going on in your business. And that's a great use when you're tracking your numbers to see. The other thing you want to do that you can do, and the benefit of the numbers, is that you can seriously make some data driven decisions. You're not just saying, that worked last time, I'm going to try it again. No, you're using data to determine what your next step is going to be. So if you have no data, then you just really blindly just doing whatever you think feels right. And many times we work on what we think feels right. And that's not the thing that helps us. So you can't just work on what feels right. We have to work on what thing can help us promote our business, what thing can help us move our business forward, but it's usually done based on data. So in order to get your data, you have to track your numbers. To track your numbers, you have to do something in order to have something to track. So it's like a process, okay? So that in the end, we are making sure that what we're doing makes sense, that you can improve things because you can measure. You can't improve what you don't measure because you don't know like how far you've gone. And remember, these small adjustments you make over time will have big results. So you want to make sure that as week to week goes, you can make little adjustment here, a little one there. Then in the end, you will have some big results. So don't fear your numbers, face your numbers. Think about what you're going to do. Think about how what you have been doing. Is it working? Yes or no? And the only way you can tell is to look at your data. So we want to, as a quick recap, I want to remind you that you need to check your information. You need to make sure that everything is in place. And again, the three core things: social media reach, conversion rate, subscriber attention, the subscribers to your sources, to your resources. Look at those things and as a bonus, that doesn't tell you one more thing you could track. If you sell products, track your inventory. So you can do that month to month. You don't want to run out. Is the inventory going faster during a certain time of month? Is it going slower? track what you have because this is a good way to know, like when you're projecting your budget and your finances for future months or future next year, how do you know how many widgets you need to buy if you don't know how many you already use? So, as a bonus, I'm telling you, if you sell products, keep track of your inventory. That is a good way to project what you plan to do in the next couple of months based on your sales, based on all the things. So, you want to look at everything that you have. Okay. So, I hope that this information was helpful to you. And as a challenge for you, I would say pick at least one metric, at least one of the three things I said and then start thinking about it and start tracking it. And then if you need to bring the rest of them in later, fine. But at least look at the one thing, look at your subscriber audience. Is it growing? Yes or no? What can I do differently? Numbers are here to help you. They're not here to harm you. And if anything, if the numbers are what you want them to be, it gives you a good idea, indication that, okay, this is an area I need to improve in and face that challenge because it is time for us to elevate our businesses. It is time for us to stop working in a vacuum. It's time for us to go from here, from mediocre to like really rising high. So if you like this information, share it. If you have something, some topic that you want to talk about, be sure to drop it in the comments and we'll talk about it. But most definitely subscribe to this channel and like which, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.